Welcome to Disruptive Conversations, in which we know that positive change can happen at any point in your life. And today I'm thrilled to have Tracy McCubbin, who's going to be joining us to help us understand how clutter not only can enter our lives in a way that is disruptive to us, but it can also, as it takes up space, it could take up space in our happiness as well. And so we're going to be talking about this with this world-renowned expert. And I am waiting for Tracy to come on. She has already waved, and I'm waiting for her request to join and seeing how that works. I'm sure it's going to go fine. We're waiting for the next moment. And while we're here, thanks everyone for your waves. Great to have you here. I am trying out a different area. Let's see how this goes today. Here's the request from Tracy. And I'm going to have a moment of buffer. And we can easily become cluttered. And we can become cluttered in our thoughts. And here she is. Hi, with a tremendous amount of ease. Here we are together, Tracy. So I'm going to be introducing the show, myself, and then you, and then we're off and going together. So for everyone, whether this is your first time or you're coming on again, welcome to Disruptive Conversations with Dr. Risa Reiger, in which we deep dive into the experiences these women have needed to navigate and conquer in order to have created their personal and professional lives up to this point in time. I'm Dr. Risa Reiger, clinical psychologist, and I'm an expert in change. What we know is that positive change can happen at any point in time. And finding positive change, I work with individuals, teams, and companies to be able to create the change that you're looking to see. But in order to make change, we need to disrupt. We need to disrupt thoughts, feelings, beliefs, behavior, habits, in order to create our 10.0 lives. And that's what this series of conversations is all about. And today, to help us on that journey, I am so delighted to have Tracy McCubbin to help us understand the importance of even how disrupting our stuff can bring more space into their lives. So wait to hear what Tracy has done and who she is. So Tracy is the CEO and founder of Declutterify, one of America's top decluttering companies. And she's helped thousands of clients clear clutter out of their lives to create change for positive change, to create space for positive change. Could this have been more aligned? That positive change can happen. So she's also the author of Making Space Clutter Free, and her latest book, Make Space for Happiness, from an aspiring author to a published author. I welcome this as well. And she looks to the root of our clutter to find the real cause and ways to find real solutions. So Tracy, I'm so delighted to have you here, and welcome.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here. I love talking about change, and having helped people for 18 years now. Change isn't easy. Change isn't easy. And I always say to my clients, you took the first big step by picking up the phone and calling me. Let's acknowledge that step, because I think change, as you probably know, gets momentum, right? As soon as you kind of start to do it in little bits and it picks up. So I'm very, very excited to be talking to you.
So my first question to you is, what did you need to change in yourself? What did you need to disrupt in yourself in order to have created the achievements and accomplishments you have in your personal and professional life?
That's a great question. So I kind of accidentally fell into my business. I was working as a personal assistant, and I knew the entertainment business, and I was really not the business for me. And so I started doing. People would call me because you're an assistant, and you can do. They think you can do everything. Start doing these little jobs and helping organize their ornaments in their garage and their paperwork. And then more and more, the phone started ringing, people started sharing. And a friend of mine was like, you know, you have a business. And I was like, no, I just help people. That's what I do. And he's like, yes, that's called a business. And so I think I have to really disrupt and change this idea that I could take what I was really good at and what I really love to do, and I could charge for it, right? That there was honor in offering this service, and that I was all of a sudden becoming an entrepreneur. I always worked for other people. And so to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to put this entrepreneur hat on. And it was big, and it took a minute for it to like fit right on my head.
What you're talking about, I want to really highlight and underscore this, is what happens with so many women, which is that what you do comes naturally to you. You're a helper, I'll get in there and help make it happen. And we don't give it the adequate value that it should really have. And by it, we are the ones who own that skill, that tool, that ability, that go to. What was that like for you to bring that in?
I was met with such positive feedback. I was so good at it, and I was changing lives. And, I think in realizing sometimes that just the exchange of money is almost like the gratitude portion, and understanding that not everybody can do the skills that I have, and I was able to provide them. And it just kept getting built on. People were like, I finally could have my family over for Thanksgiving. I hadn't had anybody in my house. I can park my car in my garage. It was such positive feedback that I knew I was on the right path.
So how did you go from the assistant to the declutterer?
I mean, I just started. People, it was just the funniest thing, Dr. Lisa. People would call me, and I'd be like, "Sure, I have the weekend. I'll come do your garage." And it really started to lock in, like when I joked that my little flip phone, it was 18 years ago, my little phone started vibrating, and I saw the demand, I saw the need, I saw that I was good at it. And so I took a huge risk. I made a website, and I put it out, like an email out to friends and family, and this is what I'm doing, and these are my rates. And then I was so lucky, or the kind of universe aligned. But back in the day, there used to be this daily newsletter called Daily Candy, and they heard about me and they wrote about me, and it was all this free press, and it took off. And I think you brought up an interesting point, because I talk about this a lot too, that as women, especially when we launch a business, we may not have access to the capital that a lot of male-owned businesses have, but the thing that women have are such strong networks. And I really learned marketing and that stuff by just reaching out to the people I knew, calling realtors I knew, coffee to their office and telling them. And so I think sometimes women get stopped because they're worried, I don't have the capital, I don't have the money to spend on a big marketing campaign. But if you really look at your network, that's where the change is going to come through, right? You're going to have access that way.
Tracy, women sometimes, and you're such a great example of, you don't have it all in line. You don't have a big business plan made up. You don't have the step by step, and that's what you feel you have to have in order to go forward. And you went forward with what you had, which was obviously, as we often don't think of ourselves, as enough.
Right, exactly. And I had the skill, and I had the ability to talk to people, and I had the important part, the business plan and the KPIs and the bookkeeping. I just learned all that. That was fine. I learned, and what I didn't learn, I hired people who were experts at it. But I had the heart and soul of what it does. And we just built on it. And I think, and I hear a lot of my women clients say this too, I think, like you said, just because we're good at something, or because it's what we do anyway. I helped both my grandparents they were aging. I cleaned out their houses. Like, you know what? Was all this stuff that we're doing for free anyway? And so it was a mind shift to be like, no, this is what I'm good at. And there are people who need this and they're willing to pay for it.
This is the part that comes into the not paid for second shift, right? And what you did was you took the second shift, but you made it your first shift.
Exactly. Exactly. So, and and again, I just go back to if someone's doing this in their own life, like look at where you're getting the positive feedback, right? Look at where people are saying, oh my God, you're so good at this. And oh my God, I couldn't have done this without you. And thank you for helping me. Whatever the skill is, if it's listening, whatever. And when you start to put those together, oftentimes that illuminates a path. I didn't start this business till I was 40, right? I'd done so many other things and it just fell. And the other amazing thing is I couldn't have started this business if I hadn't done everything that came before it. Right? Like it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm starting all over again and I've wasted so much time. Really early on, I was like, oh yeah, when I ran the books for that small business and when I was customer service and when I was a secretary, all those skills added to this. So I really was like, I couldn't have done this 10 years earlier. And I'm so glad I've had all the experiences. And I think that's important for women who are returning to the workforce, or maybe their kids are getting older and they're not a stay-at-home mom the same way, or they're in the sandwich generation and they're caring for kids and caring for aging parents. I think sometimes women don't see their skills as marketable, and really it is. And everything you've done adds up to who you are today.
It's so important. And the idea that sometimes you can't do something now, but now doesn't mean never.
Exactly. Now doesn't mean never. And and I see, and I'm sure you see this, a lot of women kind of in their 40s have a questioning of what am I doing next? Like I said, kids are getting older. They want a career shift, and I think it's kind of a combination of writing down the things that you're good at, even if you've never been paid for them, and the things that you love to do.
It sounds like you really hit that sweet spot, not by accident, but that when you were ready to go there, that you were able to, and on some level, even if it wasn't, this is how I'm going to approach it, that you got to the intersection of what you were good at and what you loved.
Yeah, it really, I feel so lucky, and I'm not discounting all the hard work that I've put in, but I really was like, oh, this is the thing that I love to do. I love to do this. And I have 12 organizers working for me now, and I still love to do it when I'm out on a job, and now that I run the business, it's fewer and fewer, but when I'm out there, I'm like, oh, I love this and I can do that. So I think that women, especially if they're looking for their next thing or chapter, to not only look at the skills that they've been paid to do.
That's really important. And knowing also that sometimes you just weren't taught or shown and how to go about organizing and what do you need to do. And oftentimes, don't you think, and I'd love for you to speak about more of your experience, that sometimes when people come to you, they're already feeling so overwhelmed that they can't find the start point, and it doesn't feel like you can say, okay, start anywhere. That doesn't have any traction.
No, and I think if we come back up a little, um, there's this idea that like everyone should be organized and everyone should know how to organize. And it's a skill, and it's so played into ADHD and executive functioning. And do you have 3 little kids under the age of 5? There's so many factors. So I always start with people when they're in a disorganized state or a super cluttered state. Like that doesn't make you a bad person. Let's just start there. Just because you're so many circumstances and so many internal things. So I'm always like, we're not beating ourselves up. You're not a bad person if you're not a good housekeeper. Like you're not lazy, and really seeing that. And then the place I always like to start, and this is a really good exercise for people, is What's the vision? What do you want your house to be? Right? Start there. Just write it down, picture it, Pinterest board. Like, I want clean counters, or I want to be able to go in my closet color coordinated so I can get easily dressed in the morning. Once you start with a goal that you want, that's a positive goal, not like I'm fat and I need to throw all my clothes away. No, the positive goal, that's the starting point. That's the true starting point, because then you know what you're working towards.
To do something that's doable, even if you don't know how to do it, that you ask someone for help. And asking someone for help, I think particularly around perhaps things in the home where you think that just because you're female that you should absolutely know how to do it.
Exactly. And you have to remember that this idea of being neat and tidy is really, cleanliness is next to godliness. Like, it's
Ooh,
very, and there's a Casey Davis, who people have probably is a therapist who talks a lot about this. She was the one who said it so clearly. Care tasks, cleaning the house, doing the laundry, are morally neutral. You're not a bad person if you can't get your laundry done. You may be overwhelmed, you may be that. So I think once we take that out and be like, okay, how is your house not working for you? And let's get it there and understand that you're making a change, especially if for a lot of people, they grew up in a house that was cluttered. Maybe their parents were immigrants. Maybe they, all sorts of things. And maybe they just never learned how to do it. If you didn't know how to play the flute, you wouldn't beat yourself up. Didn't know how. It's the same thing. It's like, if you never learned how to be organized, or the way you did doesn't work, well, let's learn a new skill. Easy.
the other thing that happens, I think that's so important and an important piece of feedback for women is that once you get women going, because I would imagine that maybe not exclusively, but tell me about this. Are most of your clients women?
Yes. Most of my and most of my clients are women. And well, now I may be doing a whole house, but the phone call comes
Yeah.
from the women. A really high percentage are over 40. Kind of 40 to 70 is my sweet spot. A lot of what happens is I get a phone call that says, I just turned 50. I realized I'm the only person in this family who knows where the paperwork is, knows where the insurance is. If something happens to me, it's all, so I really get a lot of that. Yeah, the bulk of my, even when we're doing, like when we're dealing with senior downsizing or helping a family after someone's passed away, it tends to be the eldest daughter.
There you have it. There you have it. I know for me,
We get stuff.
yeah, we get stuff done. And one of the things, and I'm sure you'll understand this and have your own smile about it, is that when I'm working with people and they're feeling overwhelmed, right? And there's so much that happens mentally, I tell them, whether specifically or metaphorically, organize your sock drawer. Like, organize something that you can organize, because it resets your head and it sets up a different feedback loop about yourself, about accomplishing, about going from mess to not mess. So could you talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, and I think the really important thing for people to understand is that being organized, I'm going to go back to this and I say it over again. It's not about being right or wrong. Like, my house is perfect, I'm right, look at me, I'm a perfect housekeeper. It's about your house is organized in systems that work for you. And those systems make your life smoother. If you lose your keys every day and you're running around in the morning and you're looking for your keys and you're spending 5 to 10 minutes, and then you find them, and then you're going to work and you're sweating and you're upset and you're rattled already, that's not a good start to your day. But if you have a bowl next to the door and every night you drop your keys in it, and then every morning you pick your keys up and then you put them back, that's an organizational system. And that means that you didn't jack your cortisol, give yourself anxiety, give yourself stress. You're like, my keys are here and I'm off to work. That's why we do it. That's why we're organized. So exactly what you said, a sock drawer, a little junk drawer, a shelf on your bookshelf. Like, one of those, you're like, oh, now I know where to find the things I need. And I know where to put them back when I'm done to find them again. That's the basis of it. That's why we do it. I don't care how it looks on Instagram. It's so that you know where to put things away and find them when you need them.
That I like that, because I like to know that my things do have a home.
Yeah.
They have a home, they have a place where they belong, and they go. Because I think the other thing that is important to pull out of the great work that you do is that when you know how to do that, not only does it not take up time, but then there isn't the decision making that has to happen. And we have decision exhaustion.
Oh, I talk about this, Dr. Risa. I talk about this all the time. And if anybody's interested, there's a fantastic article about 10 years ago in the New York Times about decision fatigue. Just Google New York Times decision fatigue. And clutter puts you into decision fatigue because every piece of clutter you have to go, do I want this? Do I not want this? Where does it live? Where should I put it away? So you're already like, you just fry out. So less stuff means less decisions. You so that you can make the important decisions. I mean, I always think about Obama when he was president. He was like, "Oh, I wear black, gray, and white. Like white, like I don't change my color. That's it." And he goes, "And I make no decisions about my food." And he's like, "I just took those decisions off my plate." And I'm like, can I have that?"
Okay, I'm going to out myself here for a moment, and you're the perfect person to do this with. So, what do you say to a person? And this can happen with us. I'm bringing it up because I've just finished writing. I've just finished writing my first draft of chapter 6. And in going through and doing this, I cannot tell you what my office looks like. It is it's I won't say disaster, it's a specific category, that, but there's papers, there's this, everything that was nicely organized, and I haven't had a chance to go back and redo it. And I'm not alone on this. When we get involved in something, things slip by the wayside. How do you go back and regroup?
The most important thing is, and the simplest thing is, you have to schedule the time and do it. So if you're on a big project, and I'm on a big writing project right now too, and I'm like working late at night and doing it, and it's like it's taking every minute, and I want to focus for it. So when I'm done for the day or done, I don't want to organize my office. I don't want to put my laundry away. But when my office gets out of control, it becomes a distraction. So what I do is I set time on Sundays to just reset everything. Just block off a half an hour in my calendar. So I'm like, just reset your office. Because I know that going forward, working on this project will be better when I'm in that organized state. So I think it's about not beating yourself up and just going, yeah, I was in process. I was fully in process. And now as I go on to chapter 7, I want a little bit of, so you just block it off in your calendar and say from, 4 to 5 p.m. on Tuesday, I'm going to tidy my office.
Got it. So, but it's not starting over. It's not that you failed. And this is what life looks like.
Dr. Risa, you brought up such a great thing, and this is so important to highlight for people about organizing and decluttering. You don't do it and it's done. It's life, and life is messy, and stuff comes in, and the holidays will come, and people give you gifts you don't want, and the mail comes in. It's about the way that we have a regular cleaning process. We need to have a regular organizing. Things get organized because you're living. That means you're living a life. So instead of like, oh, how did it get like this? It's like, no, it's you lived and now you need to reset. We call it a tune-up. You just need a tune-up.
I love that. That's a great reframe. Everybody note this. It's a tune up. It's a booster. And even our cars need a tune up, right?
Yeah.
So, no shame. No shame in tune ups.
Yeah, but I also got to take a trash break the other day. I was like, how many empty water bottles do you have? Sometimes sometimes the quote unquote mess is also like, well, I've been doing something. I've been creating this thing. I've been doing this big craft project. I've been writing something. Like it's the other side of a project. It's not always the outcome is, it's the outcome of is from something traumatic. So I think if people can reframe that to be like, yeah, my household got not the way I like it because I've been living life.
Do you ever think, I know this has happened to me, I'm wondering if this has happened to you, where in keeping with the, now I can check this off my list. Do you ever feel like when you go out and you buy like the extra bag of lettuce, it's like, now I'm done with buying lettuce, as if it will be done forever?
Yeah, I, so funny. Okay, I bought broccoli at the farmer's market and I was like, well, good. I got my dark leafy greens in forever.
And then it's like, then you're using it and then you have to do it again.
I know. It's the same thing with mail now, because like the mail we get isn't important anymore. Like there's maybe every couple of days one thing maybe, and I'm like, every time I walk up to my friend, I'm like, ugh, mail again. You're
But we need to shift our mindset about tidying, about organization. And even though it's like, oh my gosh, I spent so much time putting this together and it has, you know, this is a mess. This is really a mess. And we
well,
have to do it again.
yeah, but I also say to people, and this is the point, is if you know, you're living, let's say your closet, and you put it all together, and then it like very quickly gets in disarray again. That also might mean that you don't have the best system for yourself. Or
Mm-hmm.
sort of like, why does it keep happening? You may not have it. So, example, for me in my closet, I like to group things. Dresses are together, skirts are together, pants are together, shirts are together, because I like to make outfits, and then they're color coordinated within the category. That works for me, because when I have a shirt, I know where it goes to. I also have a mini category of work shirts, which I only wear on job sites.
Ooh.
These are my going out, these are my this, and my system is maintainable. So if you feel like things get out of control or in disarray really quickly, it may be that the system doesn't work for you. And you have to understand that systems aren't one size fit all, right? You've got to think about the way you process information and what makes sense to you. And so that's a really big thing that sometimes, a lot of people, my clients will say, well, how do you do it at your house? And I'm like, well, it doesn't matter how I do it at my house, because
Mm-hmm.
I have my own weird way. Like my jeans are in a category that people will be like, I don't know what this makes. Like I have my weekend, like I'm going at, I have like four categories of jeans, and it wouldn't make sense to anybody but me. But when I go to grab them, I know. So if you're having trouble keeping systems, maybe the system isn't working, and you can do a little bit of like, oh, this is a perfect example. When I first started working and I got really busy, I started working with all these moms, and I had a client who was like, okay, don't think I'm crazy, but I keep the sunscreen in the breakfast room, because when they're sitting down to eat breakfast, is a lather them. And I was like, oh, that's genius.
Yes.
Like, that's genius. And she's like, I know sunscreen doesn't, I was like, no, sunscreen belongs on the kids. So however you can get there. Sometimes those kind of, sometimes those kinds of things are realizing this works for us, me, my family, and there's no right or wrong. Keep sunscreen, and I have told that to so many moms, and they're like, that's genius.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So Tracy, two things. I knew this would happen, and it's happening, that we're down to our time. Two things. One is, what would be, if you could give one line for people, what would that be about organizing? About organizing, what would that be? And to whatever parameter you wish.
Don't put it down, put it away. The quick way to beat clutter is don't set something down where it is, know where it goes, where it lives, and put it away. If you can adopt that, you will stay on top of clutter so fast and so easily. So don't put it down, put it away.
The Ohio rule, only handle it once. Okay, that's one. Two, what's your next disruption?
Oh, wow. So we are nationally expanding the business. We're open.
Yes.
Big. Super, super, super exciting. We are expanding. It's big. It's really big. So that's my next. So we're expanding all over the country. The demand is there. I've worked with consultants and honed in on the best process for that. So if people might be interested, follow me on Instagram because I'll have updates about what the expansion and what we're looking for to people join the team. So if anyone might be interested in this, give me a follow and I'll keep you updated. So that's my big disruption.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for letting us know. I'm going to keep up with this. And I, of course, want to hear how you're doing, how it's all going. And needless to say, when you're coming to New York, that would be absolutely wonderful. So for everyone, thanks so much for joining us. Tracy, we need to take our cover shot.
Okay.
So if you need a little hair flip, if you want to, whatever, make that happen. And so you ready? Let me know.
Yep.
Okay, this is one. And one more. Women love options. And this has been such a great conversation, so much help for our communities to understand how to make space in your life. And one of the things that we always need to do is really make space for ourselves. So for everyone who's joined today, thanks so much. Remember to, if you haven't followed me, follow me. I'm dropping information all the time that's really helpful, useful, and utilizable, user-friendly. And remember that positive change can happen at any point in time. You're never too late. Great to see you here. See you next time. And I've saved a seat for you. See you soon, Tracy.